Hello, welcome to Romantic Wednesdays with Poetry. I'm Alisa Agnes, your host, and I believe it's time to get real and spill some tea or coffee. So, today we have the last episode about the broken chapter cycle, and today you will learn more about two very fun um, closing poems from this cycle. The first poem is called Love Conquers All, and the second title is Red Dress. So it's a very positive kind of ending for this very sad story, which was all about betrayal. And it was also written during the pandemic era, when literally pandemic just started in 2020, and these two poems from today's episode are very much connected with this moment that we were in history 5 years ago. So, after such a beginning, I'd like to read you Love Conquers All, and later I will tell you few more words about this, but to be honest, it's a very short poem and there is not much to say. So, that's Love Conquers All. The world was crashing down, and we were inside, holding each other tight. So that's all. So this poem is, as I've already said, about pandemic, and that's what lines "the world was crashing down" means, because it felt like the end of the world for some reason, and you probably know why. And next lines are like, and we were inside, so it's like the whole world was closed, but we were there, holding each other tight. And that's why it's called Love Conquers All, because it's like, besides this situation that is happening in the world, and despite those things that happened before, and I mean here the betrayal kind of thing, betrayal on so many levels, as I've already told you a few episodes ago. So despite all those things, love conquers all. It's like Romeo and Juliet found a way to be happy with each other again. And this poem is simply all about this kind of victory. Victory of real love. Despite being hurt, and despite this very sad thing that was happening in the world, two people found a way to be happy with each other somehow. And I think that's all that matters. And this very short poem, is this kind of description of such a situation. Well, as I already said, it's a very short kind of concept, and I decided to kind of paint this, situation, such a very short poem. In the English version, it's just 5 lines, and in the Polish version there are just 3 lines, so somehow I wrote it even shorter in Polish. Well, so that's all that I can tell you about the first title. So now let's move on to the second one. It's called Red Dress, and let me read you this poem for you right now. So that's Red Dress. The plan was to wear the red dress in May. The plan was to have a fun day in May. But the virus came and said, "Nah, wear red velvet pajamas on your couch and eat bananas." So that's this poem. So it was written in such a moment of my life when I had plans for May, just like I guess everybody in the world. And my plan was to wear, special red dress that I bought for such a concert, and I also bought such nice red shoes, but I never got to wear it because that show was cancelled because of virus. So all I could do was to wear red velvet pajamas, and well, it's also a metaphor of love. And there's also such a very old song by Or5, Red Velvet, so it's also little reference to this song from 2017. And I also mentioned Red Velvet here because the red dress, had to be replaced with the pajamas of the same color, and such a thing. And this poem is simply about canceling plans and about this moment that everybody knew we all had to stay at home. And the very last words, eat bananas. It's so funny, and I just wanted to make it sound funny, and I also wanted to refer to some healthy food, because when we have to deal with virus or any bacteria or anything like that, I think it's very important to take care of our health, to eat healthy, drink healthy, and such things. And bananas are simply the metaphor of staying healthy. So yep, that's all that I can tell you about this poem. As you can see, it's a kind of funny closer of this cycle, the broken chapter cycle. So it's like that really sad time ends with a little smile and laughter, but it wasn't the end yet, because it was just 2020, and we all know that even today in 2025 we can still kind of see and hear about that virus, and I think we all still remember about pandemic. So it wasn't the end, but at least we have such a very optimistic closing poem. So that's all that I can tell you about red dress and the whole cycle. And right now I can tell you what to expect in the next episode. So the 11th cycle is called A Starry Night. You can think of the such a painting which has the same name, but it wasn't my inspiration, but I think it's a great addition to this cycle. So it's made of 4 parts, and I felt like it's one long poem, and that's why this whole cycle will be just one episode, which is happening later this month. And well, I hope you will like this cycle, this poem. And well, it's also one of my favorite cycles and poems from the second volume, Student's Notes, Opening Eyes. And well, it was a little experiment, and it was one of those poetry works that I wrote during the pandemic times. So it was like 2020, 2021. It was also the time when I was still studying, and that's why it's also important to remember about my Polish literature and language studies. But I just felt like Untouchable by Taylor Swift. Yep, and I wrote such a poem made of 4 little poems, and it's actually also the continuation of those positive vibes that end the broken chapter cycle. So it's I think a really good place to discuss this. So that's what's waiting for you in the next episode. And we're slowly getting closer to finishing the second volume and finishing this podcast for now. But one day I will publish the next poetry book, or poetry is about to come out one day, and then in a few years my podcast will come back to let you know what changed since 2021, because that's where this book ends. So thank you so much for listening. It's been a long time coming, and if you'd like to check out my official website, there is a blog, Get Inspired. I write about this podcast out there. I publish chapter by chapter my second book, Laura Starry, My Awesome Life. That's the title you already know from this podcast. And there's also store. If you like to support my business, then it's a really good place to go. You can find there hoodies, t-shirts, bags, signed books of mine, ebooks. There's also pen in 5 colors. So maybe there will be a little discount code available on my blog. So if you don't want to miss any blogs or discounts, I really wish you could subscribe to my official website, which is alisaagnes.com, double-L, 1-S. And that's the end of the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening once again, and until the next time. Yep, bye.